Okay, Abby, as an athlete, how did you respond to feedback?
I really liked a lot of feedback as an athlete. I think I saw the most success when I got the most feedback. I I also kind of liked a little more negative feedback sometimes because I liked being told what I was doing wrong, so I could fix it.
Was your coach big on feedback or not?
Yeah, my coaches throughout the years have been very big on feedback. I mean, I think all sports, but it's you know speaking from swimming myself, it's very technical. It's very, you know, the littlest things can make a huge difference in your swimming. So by having coaches that are very, feedback oriented and want to give a lot of feedback, that usually produces the best swimmers.
Okay. Is there a such thing as negative feedback, or is it all just for the betterment of the player?
I do think there are cases where there's negative feedback. I think a lot of it is how the athlete responds to the feedback. Um, you know, if a coach is yelling at an athlete and it's very negative and there's nothing positive that can be taken away from it, I think that is a case where there's negative feedback. But if the coach may be saying something negative, but if they're twisting it to say, okay, like you're doing this wrong, but this is how you do it right, that's how you're changing the negative feedback into being more positive because it's allowing the athlete to be able to change something and to be able to fix something to be a better.
Okay. And if a player is not responding to your feedback, what steps do you take then?
I think that's kind of the hardest thing is when players don't respond to feedback. You see athletes all the time. I mean, my swimmers, there's certain ones where I will tell them the same thing 10,000 times and it never clicks. But I think one way is just finding another way to tell them the same thing. If they're not understanding or they're not responding to, the first way that I tell them, I'll try it another way. For example, like something really big in swimming is head position, and I'll tell certain swimmers all the time, you really need to hold your head still and not move it around and things like that. And if they're not getting it, then I'll try different things like, okay, try this piece of equipment so you can feel it for yourself, or I'll videotape them really quickly so they can see for themselves that what they're doing isn't the correct technique. And so it's just trying to find a different style of feedback to help them figure out what they're doing.
Right. And as a coach, when you give them that feedback and you see them use it in their technique, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel good when they, when they're doing it right. There's nothing more, nerve-wracking than being at a swim meet as a coach and, waiting to see how they're doing because, we always have this saying where we say, good swim, good swimmer, bad swim, bad coach.
Right.
And so, you kind of wait and you see if it all pays off. But, seeing them achieve their goals and seeing them, really put to work all the things that you've been telling them, that's really kind of the icing on the cake of the job.
Right. And as a player, how did you react to reinforcement?
I think sometimes I was good and sometimes I was bad. You're told a lot of things, day in and day out, and I think all of us like to think that we know the best of what we need for our sport.
Right.
So there's a lot of times where my coach would tell me the same thing. Like what I do with my swimmers, they would tell me the same thing over and over again, trying to get me, to make this change or to do this. And, I think you do the best you can as an athlete. I was always very motivated to be the best swimmer that I could be. So, that kind of helped a lot too. Is I was, or at least I thought I was very willing to make changes when I needed to make changes. But I think for myself, you know, again, like having the most reinforcement, having the most feedback from my coaches really helped me be a better swimmer, because the more they told me things, even if it was different things every single day, you know, the more communication I had with my coaches, the better I became.
I can't think anymore. Oh, we get 2 more minutes. Can we pause?
Yep.
Pause.